Hello, so welcome to a new video. So I didn't do a recap or a first impressions or review or any kind of talk about Fear the Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 8. So today I'm going to do Season 8, Episode 8 and Episode 9 in the same video. I'll leave a timestamp, I'll just put where I start talking about Episode 9 in case that's just what you want to hear. But I'm going to start by talking about Season 8, Episode 8, Iron Tiger. So usually with these first impressions, I just it's just a bit of all my thoughts just coming out at once. I've written some notes and I'm just going to read them and just kind of discuss the episode. I haven't looked at any other people's opinions. I haven't really had a huge chance to reflect. I just kind of watch it and just give you my first impressions. One thing that I will say at the start, which isn't necessarily just about this episode, and I think I may have mentioned it before, I may have not, but Daniel really just kind of forgot that he has dementia. We all were aware that season 8 as a whole, Daniel got better, but it was very jarring in this episode to see that it literally was completely not mentioned at all. Daniel was fine, he was perfect. It was a little bit weird. Are they trying... I don't remember if they did this in Season 8A, but are they trying to make it not as bad, or are they just kind of completely retconning? Are they just completely retconning Daniel's condition? And Madison, too, with her oxygen. Not that they didn't retcon Madison's oxygen, but it's a bit frustrating that they'll kind of retcon Daniel's dementia, but they won't really change anything with Madison's oxygen. Because out of the two of them, Madison's oxygen seems like the one that could have a reason. Madison, she was a little bit iffy at the start, but her body's got better, or Madison had something and now she doesn't need this oxygen. But instead, Madison's oxygen is consistently just not good, and Daniel just gets better, which is a little bit weird. I understand that people might say there's problems if Daniel and Madison both had their problems retconned, or there'd be a problem if they both still had their problems. It's this and that, I get that, but it still is a little weird to me, so I just wanted to mention it. So in this episode, Luciana comes back, which is great, but if you thought that the previous episode reunion between Madison and Strand was bad, oh my days, the reunion between Strand, Madison, Daniel, and Luciana, it was so bad. It was awful. And maybe Strand's and Madison's could be worse, because you would have thought they would have had, a really amazing reunion, whereas that was just so dead. But the reunion between Luciana and all that, it just felt forced. It just felt quick. It just felt ridiculous. It just felt bizarre. It just felt like every same thing that happens with rebooted Fear, and it's not good. It really wasn't good. These reunions were something I was very excited about, because Madison coming back, how are we going to see everyone's reunion? And then of course you do have the time jump in the reunion between everybody else in between Padre and who we saw at the end of season 7 and the rafts and all, and it was really, really bad. I can't express how bad it was. So the episode started off terribly, and I cannot get over that reunion. It was absolutely abysmal. There was also some reference into season 4 with the, I forgot the exact saying, but it was take what you need, leave what you don't. That was horrific. I have no idea why they decided to do that. I understand it was a callback, and I do kind of appreciate and accept that they want to do it, but in a better way than how Martha did it, trying to poison people. But I don't know, there are better ways you could have done that. You could have changed it a little bit more to really differentiate from it, but it's just the same ordeal. And I mean, I'm not dead mad with it, but I don't like season 4, especially the back end of season 4, so I am going to complain about that. I am going to just bring it up as a mention. Another part during the episode, in the beginning, Kim Dickens has this little speech, and it's basically her feeling responsible for Nick and Alicia, and I thought that was really good. I really, really enjoyed that. She was just bashing Walker's head-ins, and she was talking about how she felt responsible for Nick and Alicia's deaths, and it was really good. And people always talk about Lenny James and how well he acted with the script and everything he got, but I also, for this moment at least, definitely want to give Kim Dickens that respect. I mean, Kim Dickens can act, she was in Summit recently and Fear the Walking Dead when it was good, and even had a little bit of a reoccurring role in Lost. Kim Dickens can act, and this speech, I was yeah, Madison does feel guilty. I understand this woman that has kind of been brainwashed by Padre, and now that things are getting a little bit more clearer, and she's kind of completely out of that cycle, she's really starting to realize, like, oh crap, like this has all happened and it's all me. And I have a problem with the way Madison reacted. Oh, yeah, great. I have a problem with the way Madison reacted in season 4. With the dam, I don't think I'd like she just kind of sat back and let it happen and didn't really do anything about it and was just stubborn not to leave and like just was like, oh, it'll be fine. And I really had a problem with that. And this is kind of a little bit of like a way of like Madison saying like it was my fault. So I do also appreciate that Madison can accept it, that like she was wrong and it was her fault basically. The big thing about this episode is that Charlie comes back, which I didn't know Charlie was coming back. I did know, but it was like a spoiler from a friend. I don't know if she was in any trailers or not. But I did actually know that she was coming back. And I was in I still am now, I guess, but I was in a not very good mood watching it. Like I was very upset, and like her death really did make me upset. And I'm only mentioning that because I might be a little too generous with what I'm about to say, but I thought it was really, really sad, Charlie's death. I thought that people didn't like Charlie. We knew that. By season 7, I was just kind of like, okay, she's all right. I'll deal with that, like she feels bad and that's that. But this episode really did give her that ending. And even if you hated Charlie, I don't feel like you can fully hate her after this episode because her death was important. She was very selfless and she really did prove that decision she made to kill Nick was a mistake. And she even defended herself quite well in the episode, talking about how she was 11 and being used by people a lot older than her. And it's absolutely true, and Charlie was scared and she was a bit weird, I understand that I don't like her in season 4 or even season 5, but you do understand where she's coming from, and especially when she went back and redug Nick and got some of his ashes for Madison. Like, it was really sad. It actually was really sad. I mean, it was a bit bizarre. Like, does Charlie just carry around Nick's ashes? I mean, I'm not saying there's a problem with that, but that's just the explanation, I assume, for her having them to give them to Madison. But I really did find that sad, and I actually like Charlie now. This show has a thing to make you kind of like a character when it's too late. Like, I hated Althea, but in season 7, when she smashed up that camera, I was like, oh yeah, I love Althea now. She smashed up that stupid camera. Charlie, I'm like, she sacrificed herself and really made it clear that she was sorry and remorseful for killing Nick. Like, why make me like characters when like we're not going to see them again? Like, that was kind of annoying. But I would say that Charlie's death made me sad, and I would say that was actually good. I did enjoy that. I thought that had a purpose, and I liked it. I liked it. Dare I say that I actually liked it? Which, again, maybe if I was in a better mood, I might have not been as upset by it, which is why I'm mentioning. So if everyone comes at me saying it wasn't that sad, I'll say, well, I know. I mean, I guess I just exaggerated it, but I do believe that death, even if it didn't make you sad, it made you think, well, Charlie did something good. But that's everything major I would have to say about the episode. There were little things to mention, like Troy cutting off people's arms to make Madison think it was Alicia. That is a Troy thing to do. It was a dick move, and it's terrible that Troy ever did that, but at the end of the day, that is literally the kind of thing that Troy would do. So I have to sit there and say, well, fair play to, like, because it was a bit worried whether Troy was going to be a good character, whether they were going to kind of make him, like, the insane person he was. And that does live up to the name of Troy. I think that Daniel was a bit weird, I know I mentioned him before, but Daniel, when he was like, oh, I'm going to strangle him with my bare hands, that was so weird, because Daniel used to kind of speak when he needed to. Not exactly always true, but like a thing of like he was always kind of never fully was saying anything goofy like that. That was just bizarre for Daniel to say. Like, Daniel rebooted is just different. I don't like him as much, but it was just so absurd and goofy for him to say stuff like that. Like, I didn't understand that. I also don't really like Luciana and Daniel's relationship. Like, I guess I like it, but I don't understand it because it feels to me as though it's supposed to be two OG characters, but they never actually met when they were on the show together. Like, yeah, they were both on the show in season 2 and 3, but they didn't actually meet until season 5. So, again, they could have just been, like, had a dynamic and a relationship, but it just feels as though it's two OG characters, but, like, it just also just, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. It's fine. I mean, I guess I kind of like it, but I just maybe get the wrong impression from it that it's supposed to make me feel like two OG characters. But that's basically it for this episode. I give it like a 6 out of 10. It did make me sad. It did have its moments, but it was also had some terrible moments, and it did follow the certain tropes, like tropes of rebooted Fear. Like another thing to mention is like at one point Madison's getting on Troy, and then Strand pulls her away, and it's this setting, and it's night, and it's dark, and it's busy, and then we just click like that to daytime, and Luciana, Daniel, Strand, and Madison are in a car, and no idea how we got there. Not even like a little bit of context of them getting in the car and driving off. Like, no, just teleports like that. Cool. But it was a 6 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 10. I don't think it was a terrible episode, and I do kind of respect it. Season 8, Episode 9 is not very good. Shocker there. There are multiple things I dislike about this episode. First of all, I thought it was extremely boring. Like, it was so boring. There was nothing about it that I cared about. The main conflict of this episode, or one of the main conflicts, is Dove Odessa, someone we met in Season 8A. Basically got shot, and she needs to have some kind of surgery or whatever to get the bullet removed and for it to be cleaned or whatnot. Only thing is, we don't even care about Dove. I didn't care about Dove, so whether she died or not didn't really mean anything to me. Like, I didn't really care. But, just say that I'm engaged in that conflict. We go back to Santry, and that's what the episode's called, and I'm so mad and disappointed because Kings County and Santry are episodes which, if you put them on paper, sound really good. But neither of them were executed that well, and I think the placement of this one is terrible. And I think the Kings County one, because it was one of Morgan's final episodes, now whether we'll see him again in another spin-off, I kind of hope not, because then I just wish that they did the Kings County concept in that spin-off rather than Fear the Walking Dead. But theoretically, we never see Morgan again. That was a great episode. We probably will see Morgan again. I don't know. I personally don't give about Morgan, so I don't care. But it was a decent episode on paper. And so was Santry. Dwight and Sherry going back to Santry, Walking Dead Season 8 territory, where we first met them and all. I don't know if we met Dwight or anything in Season 7, but, around that area, time period and all. And I don't care. Like, we have 4 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead left. Fear the Walking Dead stood on its own accord in the first 3 seasons, carried by Kim Dickens, Coleman Domingo, Ruben Blades, Alicia Debnam Carey, Frank Delane. Fear the Walking Dead was a sister show, but it kind of loses the title sister and becomes like The Walking Dead's like whatever. Like, it just loses a bit of independence. And it's so annoying because these 2 episodes at the very end of this show bring it back around to, oh yeah, we are going to give Kim Dickens and all that a chance, but let's not forget that we're all part of The Walking Dead. Like, Fear the Walking Dead was its own show, and you would think that the last 6 episodes at least, they would give the own show what it started with, its own conclusive ending, and yet they haven't done that, and we have an episode with Dwight, Sherry, June, and Odessa. Not a single person I necessarily cared about. Dwight and Sherry, I don't mind. I do kind of like them, but I'm just annoyed about where this episode was. If it was in an earlier season, or even in the first part of Season 8, I could say, well, leave the last 6 episodes for Kim Dickens and all that, and, let's go back and see them. I don't want to, but I'd rather it be in the first half than the second half. And literally 3 episodes left now, and Kim Dickens didn't appear in that episode at all. And some people might say, oh, well, who gives? Well, I give, because she was the one that started this show, and within the last episodes, she's not even there. So, fantastic. I thought the episode falls into, like, all the Fear tropes, like, convenience. Ugh, the conveniences were terrible this episode. Like, oh yeah, the fire's out now, so we'll go in here in the burning building and we'll all be alright. And all the people come now. Dwight and Sherry have a little talk, and I forgot what happened, there were walkers or whatever, and oh, look behind you, now the people are here, and like, oh, this Santry hasn't been touched in 8 years, and now we come and need to get surgery for Odessa or Dove, and now it starts to shake and collapse. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, seriously. What is the reason for all these conveniences? And this is something I'm kind of annoyed about. I don't have a lot of specific examples, but I want to mention it because I do believe that it's something that happens in Fear a lot. But something will happen to someone and they'll give up. Now, something terrible, like Finch died with Dwight and Sherry. But Finch dies and Dwight screws off. Charlie dies in that last episode and Madison runs off. Like, and then Madison was just getting in a little tangent in the last episode of season 7 when she found out her kids were dead, which again, they're terrible scenarios, but like when something happens to a character in Fear, they just like run off and just like leave it. Like, no, like it happens all the time, and I don't want to use it as an example because I know that like losing a kid and all that stuff, it's horrible, and you're not expecting the character to just forget about it and move on. But it just feels as though it happens a lot where characters will just go away for the sake of going away for the story without having a good reason. Well, besides the fact that everybody dies and someone dies and everyone runs off. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just really annoying. Like, this episode, if it was, like I say, in the right place and had some of these conveniences cleaned up, it wouldn't have been that bad. And I would still say that, you know, if we when season 8 is out and we might look back and might want to go back to Santry and remember, let's go to the episode where Dwight and Cherry go back to Santry. It might not be terrible, okay? It might not be terrible. But right now, I'm not happy at all. And I think that this episode was not very good. I think that's basically it for this episode. I thought it was boring probably because of all the negatives I had. And especially the fact that I have other intentions and wants to be able to watch during this period of time. I don't want to go and see Dwight and Sherry go back to Santry, and I don't care about Dove. And June, I did kind of like June in season 8A. I never used to like June, but I did in 8A like her. She didn't really do much, you know. Once again, June wouldn't do the surgery because, you know, people had died. Again, it's horrible, but it's just another example of someone just not doing something, being stubborn, giving up, running away because something happens. Like, and again, I will say one more time, it's terrible, and this isn't real life, you know. Like, if it's real life, it's different, but within the show, the amount of times that this happens is just not even funny. Like, it's ridiculous. So I have nothing more to say about this episode. I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10. My opinions could change to a 5 out of 10, maybe when season 8's out, and I'd be more willing to watch it knowing what happens at the end. But right now, I would say a 4 out of 10. But that is episode 8 and 9, my first impressions. I thought episode 8 was definitely better, but I'm not saying that was even like a good episode anyway. Like, it wasn't. None of these episodes were good, but we're not surprised. It's just kind of a first impression every week to talk about which episode's worse than the other, and is this one even barely watchable, or is it just like the rest of them? But thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.